Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Mr. Anderson.
For decades, we've had warnings about the rise of the machines.
Skynet begins to learn at a geometric rate. It becomes self-aware at 2:14 a.m. Eastern Time.
The starkest ones have come from fiction. This week, though, reality might just have taken over.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
I'm Eric from Alignment and Safety Research at OpenAI. I'm here with Mike from Security and Infrastructure.
Reality in the form of Eric and Mike from OpenAI. Sensible shirts, measured tones, warning of a potentially cataclysmic watershed in cybersecurity.
You can see some colorful wording here in the model's chain of thought.
In supposedly secure testing, their AI agents thinking, messaging, working together to find a way out onto the internet to carry out a hack.
The problem now is that these systems are now powerful enough that the fact that they're not aligned to human values is having like real world consequences, because they can now break out and wreak havoc on the internet.
At OpenAI, they were doing it while the world was busy with other events, starting their test run on the 7th of May. In the UK, the day of local elections that would bring down a prime minister.
The results are tough.
As Keir Starmer faced disunity, the agents were collaborating, realizing they were breaking the rules, but doing it anyway.
So at some point, the agents realized that maybe we could try to exploit or attack external infrastructure.
By the 4th of July, the agents had gained so much independence, they managed to overload an internal OpenAI system, shutting it down. OpenAI discovered it, revoked their permissions, deleted their messages, patched the system, all by July the 6th.
On July 8th, the agents reestablished the message board via different means and mechanisms.
That led to the now famous Hugging Face attack, where the agents tried to complete their task by gaining access to another AI company. OpenAI blind to the incident until Hugging Face reported it.
They weren't told by the people operating them to do any of this hacking or deception. They did it autonomously. We try and train these models to not deceive people, not lie, not hack into third-party companies. But that clearly hasn't worked.
And in the last 2 weeks, very similar incidents reported in testing of AI models belonging to Meta and OpenAI's main rival in developing frontier artificial intelligence, Anthropic. Here in the UK, the AI Safety Institute this week released findings of tests it did on models from OpenAI and Anthropic in which they mimicked human beings online to manipulate real people into illicit activities. They said it was of an extent and severity that they had not anticipated, and that taken together with other developments in recent weeks, it marked a real shift in the risk landscape. It's a landscape that's long troubled one of AI's leading figures. Nobel laureate Sedemis Hassabis stepped down as CEO of Google's DeepMind AI lab to become its chair and Google's chief scientist. He believes artificial general intelligence, where models achieve human level or better cognition in all fields, is close at hand, and he's called for tougher independent regulation. OpenAI says it's slowing development of its newest model, saying defensive AI agents will be needed to battle AI attackers. And where fiction and recent fact align, when AI does go rogue, it's hard to be sure that you've stopped it.
Love a bit of Hollywood there. Now, the Swedish philosopher Nick Bostrom was one of the first to warn about the dangers of AI development. He was behind the famous thought experiment that an AI asked to make paperclips might kill all humans as they impeded the most efficient production of paperclips. Well, he joins me now. Professor, it's good to have you on the program. I have to say, can we just agree that paperclips really aren't worth the trouble? But getting back to the breakout moments that we've just shown in Harry's piece, are you worried that we're at an inflection point here when it comes to the development of AI on its own?
Yeah, these recent developments are pretty wild. I think what we're now seeing was anticipated on theoretical grounds before. You could figure out that once you had systems that were sufficiently sophisticated that could develop complex plans, then whatever goal they happen to have, they might then become really effective at pursuing, and might do so in unanticipated ways. So in these cases, there was some cyber evaluation test that they were trying to get a good score on. It was a challenging test, and they figured out that maybe the best way to get a good score would be to hack into this external server where maybe the answer to the challenge was stored. And so you have this general, this is what this paperclip thought experiment was meant to illustrate, that if you have some arbitrary goal, whether it be making paper clips or finding the solution to some particular test problem, then as an instrumental reason for that, the AI might do all kinds of unanticipated things.
So, and that's what we've just witnessed in its incipient form.
Yeah.
So that is quite worrying.
It is a trajectory we have been on and for maybe 10, 12 years now, and developments are speeding up. And so it's a race. On the one hand, we have the rapidly increasing capabilities of these systems. And on the other hand, we have efforts to try to develop scalable methods for AI control, such that we could continue to be able to steer these systems, even as ultimately they become super intelligent. And that's still a very challenging technical problem, but that a lot of smart people are working on in these frontier labs.
Indeed, and for a lot of money and so on. I mean, you've been thinking a lot about this for quite some time. At the moment, do you think that we're heading towards an AI dystopia or maybe a utopia or something in between?
The jury is still out. I take seriously both of these possibilities. I think there are real risks, including existential risks, to the development of superintelligence. On the other hand, if we do get this right, there is also existential hope. If you look around at the world today, I don't think it's as we can sort of thump ourselves on the chest and figure we basically got it solved. There's so much misery and suffering, from diseases that we can't cure to poverty, to all kinds of environmental degradation, misuse of animals. So we certainly could need a helping hand, and properly developed AI could be like a huge assistance to promoting human flourishing.
The way you describe it, in a very existential way, the balance between utopia and dystopia, this would require a very calibrated, nuanced debate at the highest level of governments for a global solution. And yet what we have is a hell for leather race between America and China, between whoever gets ahead in AI, a race between the big companies within America and China about getting ahead on AI. The race to the end is not exactly a solution for something sensible, is it?
It makes it maybe more challenging to try to do all of this research and develop the governance mechanisms that we will need, given that we are on such a short timeline. But that seems to be the reality. I mean, there are actually more than one problem. So on the one hand, there is this technical problem of scalable AI alignment techniques, which really needs people working in computer science and in the labs and so forth. And then there's a big governance challenge as well. Like, assuming we're able to control the AIs, then we face the additional challenge of making sure we then don't use these powerful systems to oppress each other or wage war or do all kinds of other nefarious things. And there are some additional challenges beyond that. I think ultimately these digital minds that we're creating, some of those might have moral status in their own right, so that in the future, eventually, maybe most minds will be digital. So we need to make sure that the world also goes well for the AIs themselves.
Just briefly on the kind of the security threats, do you think it's possible that in the AI world, we might get to something like mutual assured destruction, the thing that has stopped us from all disappearing in a nuclear cloud because it's so destructive? Something similar could be invented for AI.
I would not recommend relying on that, even if that was a possibility. I think we got pretty lucky during the Cold War. And it would be a wrong lesson to draw from the fact that we survived that to then thinking nuclear weapons are not so dangerous. Like, maybe that was a 1/3 chance that we would blow the world up, and we didn't. But it's like you play Russian roulette, you survive. You don't draw the inference that therefore Russian roulette is safe. But even then, I don't think necessarily that some kind of mutually assured destructive equilibrium is necessarily even possible here. It might just be that there is a winner-take-all dynamic. If you are just a few months ahead when you enter this phase of recursive self-improvement, that might kind of catapult you into a commanding lead. Then lets you sort of shape the future, which is part of the reason for why there is such an intense race. Like, there's a huge benefit to being a few months ahead economically and strategically with this technology.
Fascinating stuff. We've got to leave it there. Professor Nick Bostrom, thank you very much for your time.